Welcome back to the Grambling State Dynasty, guys. Before we get started, you know what we got to do. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're brand new, and don't forget to ring that bell and join the Noti Squad. Talk about a heart of a champion. Our Tigers battled back to pull off their fourth national championship in a row, beating the Longhorns 38-31. Taking a look at the stats, it was a rough day for Cody Walker, 18 of 28 for 250 yards, but he threw 3 interceptions. I feel like he was just trying to force the ball downfield too much, but Texas did a great job confusing the sophomore with different coverages. But our offense was carried by back-to-back Heisman Award winner Pierre Jackson. 31 carries for 195 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was off to a slow start, but turned it on in the second half when we needed him the most. Out wide, Antonio Walker caught 5 balls for 64 yards, but let's talk about Sheldon Hicks. 2 grabs for 66 yards, and those 2 catches were huge for the Tigers. Both set up great field for scores. On defense, Brian Chase played all over the field, 9 tackles and a sack. Stovall and Nugent both had 6 tackles, but player of the game on defense has to go to Dan Bird. He had 2 big sacks in the game, but the G-Men's defense were put to the test, giving up 180 yards on the ground to Yancey. This was the toughest matchup we've had since Bama 4 years ago. Digging deeper into the stats, and it shows just how close this game really was. Grambling outgained Texas, but not by much. Both teams finished 50% on third down, and the 4 turnovers by the Tigers was almost costly. But that makes 4 in a row. What an incredible feat for a school that was D2 just 8 seasons ago. Taking a look at our season stats, starting with redshirt sophomore QB Cody Walker. In his first year as a starter, Cody threw for 3,272 yards, 35 touchdowns, but he had 17 interceptions. It was a great campaign for him, even landed him on the Heisman list. Going into his junior year, I want to see him work on his accuracy and his throw power. I feel like the deep ball was missing this season. On the ground, Pierre Jackson had another dominating season, 1,931 yards, 34 touchdowns. His yards and average are slightly down, but his dominance wasn't. Jackson was the workhorse for the Tigers. In his junior year, I want to make sure we allow him to showcase his skills, but maybe get him involved more in the passing game. Cody was second on the team with 711 yards and 11 scores. Senior Kevin Easley finished his last run with the Tigers with 678 yards and 8 touchdowns. And redshirt freshman Eldon O'Connor showed flashes with 15 carries for 148 and 2 touchdowns. Out wide, a solid year for Antonio Walker, 57 catches for 780 yards and 8 scores. In A-Dub's opinion, it was a down year because he had lofty goals. He wanted to be an All-American and a Biletnikoff Award winner. Hopefully next season he can have more of a dominant senior campaign. Second on the team was senior Bobby Smith. He finished with 45 grabs for 540 yards, 7 touchdowns. Redshirt freshman Will Carter built on his freshman campaign, 32 grabs for 466 and 5 scores. He's going to be a great number 2 option next to Walker next season. True freshman Sheldon Hicks is a reliable downfield target, 30 catches for 645 and 2 scores. Sophomore tight end Tim Clark, 23 catches for 340 and 5 scores. And all this group was very productive, but we're going to be looking for more from them next season. On defense, Brian Chase led the G-Men with 65 tackles. We knew he was going to be an impact on defense, but come on, man. He finished with 9 interceptions and 5 touchdowns. Going into his sophomore campaign, he will be middle linebacker number 1. What can we say about Caleb Causey? Since his freshman year, he's been a part of the defensive line. 8 sacks in his first year and second year. Then in his junior year, he exploded on the scene with 15 sacks. Decided to come back for his senior year and dominated, setting sack records with 26. He's going to be sorely missed around campus. Senior corner Brent Stovall was third on the team in tackles, but was the leader of the best secondary in the country. He finished his final year with 47 tackles, 6 picks, and 2 touchdowns. He also had 9 deflections. He should be a first-round pick. We say goodbye to our captain, Brandon Ginn, 4 years on campus. He finished with 150 tackles, 39 TFLs, 2 sacks, and 2 interceptions. Ginn was a 4-year starter here at GSU and set the bar for future middle linebackers here. Another senior leaving us this year is Nick Sellers. He had an interesting career here at GSU. He was more of a rotational player, but showed what he can do in the spring game, and he exploded in his senior year with 15 sacks and 20 TFLs. He has set himself up with a chance to get drafted. And here's a look at our sack totals for the year. Causey had 26, Sellers with 15, junior D tackle Mike Anderson had 9, freshman Dan Bird had 7, Jones had 4, Johnson had 3, Chase had 2, Mills, Freeman, and Davis each had 1. I feel this defense really shined in the secondary. Chase had 9 interceptions, but Aaron Wilkinson showed out in his first real playing time with 9 picks. Starting corners Stovall and Johnson each had 6 apiece. Travis Haley had 3. Rogers, Mannings, and Shelton each had 2 picks. Benson again both had 1. On special teams, sophomore Ryan Davis had an off year. He made 3 of his 7 field goals attempted, but was perfect with extra points and 117 touchbacks. He has to put in some work this offseason if he wants to stay on this team. In a return game, EOC was a surprise. Eric Rogers was off to a slow start, and O'Connor came in and showed all the way out. 31 kickoff returns for almost 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns, including a 106-yard return with all the moves. Then in the punt game, he had 29 returns for 711 yards and 2 scores. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next season because EOC will have a heavier offensive load. Our Tigers are riding a historic win streak, and it's been 5 seasons since they last lost a game. Coach Fobb's overall record is 99-7, and he's 6-2 in bowl games. This year will mark his 100th win of his career. But now it's time to jump into the offseason, and GSU will be welcoming 2 new coordinators to the Hull. Derek Mason and Bendigo are gone. Welcome new offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo and new DC Ilisa Tuwaki. Both were fired from their previous jobs, so this should be fun. To the scariest part of the offseason, players leaving, and we have some surprises. 2 of our sophomore starters are declaring early. Wide receiver Will Carter and outside linebacker Eric Sellers. Plus, our starting left tackle Chris Murphy is declaring, and we're losing a freshman to the transfer portal. Wide receiver Lee King and left guard Mike Williams. This isn't good. With Carter and King both leaving, that leaves 2 holes in our wideout group. But honestly, I couldn't be any more prouder of this group. 3 of our top players were drafted in the first round: Brent Stovall, Caleb Causey, and Brandon Ginn. We had 3 go in the second round with Will Carter, Bobby Smith, and Marcus Berry. Nick Sellers got drafted in the 3rd. Chris Murphy, Shane Henry, and Eric Sellers went in the 6th. Then Kevin Easley and Marcus Harris were drafted in the 7th round. In all, 12 Tigers are headed to the NFL. But it's time to add some new players to the squad. We've got some big holes to fill, but there are some big-name players we're looking to add. D tackle Charles Hodges is our #1 prospect. Athlete J.J. Rouse is going to be a stud at wide receiver. So will Kareem Bowser. Wheatley and White would add great depth to the depleted offensive line. If we could land Hodges, Rouse, Bowser, and the O-lineman, it would be amazing. But adding a wide receiver depth is the most important thing right now. So we sim ahead, and we didn't get any of our top guys. Thad White, Justin Wheatley, and linebacker Maurice Johnson have signed. It's not a total loss, but falling 410 points short for Hodges, 40 points for Rouse, and 50 points for Bowser. It's just disappointing. So we had to do some shifting around, and we moved Joe May to wide receiver. Corey Banks moves to the defensive line. JUCO transfer Bill Temple joins the secondary room at free safety. Ruben Brown is moved to corner, and Mo Johnson is moved to outside linebacker. We also moved freshman Cedric Turner from safety to outside linebacker. He could be our next Josh Carey. It was a great summer for Grambling State in the weight room, and the squad is looking stacked. Ken Johnson and Cody Walker are both 99 overall. But let's dive into the roster. Cody gets a +3 and is up to a 99 overall, and his backup Bobby Harrison gets a +6. He's up to a 94 overall. Both of their arms got stronger, but their throw power isn't quite where I'd liked it to be. In the backfield, Pierre Jackson got a +5 with a +1 in speed and 3 in acceleration. EOC gets a +5. He's up to a 91 overall with a +1 in speed and agility. These 2 are going to make a great 1-2 punch on the ground. Out wide, Antonio Walker gets a +4. He's a 98 overall. He got a +2 in speed and is at 99 and a +4 in catching. Mike Harper is up to a 91 overall. He's got a bump in speed, acceleration, and catching. Sophomore Mike Jones gets a +5 overall. He's a solid possession receiver. He could move to the opposite side of Walker, and Harper could play more in the slot. At tight end, Clark and Hicks both got a +5 overall. Both got faster, and their catching ability went up, but Hicks by far is the better wide receiver. I'm looking for him to have a big year. At left tackle, Jared Lee gets a +4 overall, and his blocking traits gets a 2-point bump. At left guard, John Pennington gets a +6, and Mike Roberson gets a +5. At center, Joseph Clayton in his senior year gets a +4 and is a 97 overall. At right guard, Nick Walton gets a +6 and is a 95 overall. We might have a problem at right tackle. Gavin Jackson and Will Brown will battle for starting position. Right now, Jackson has the inside track. On defense, DN Marcus Jones is up to an 89 overall, and his freshman backup is Brian Clark. He's up to an 83. Dan Bird will be the star at DN. He's up to a 90 overall. I expect Bird to have a breakout year. Our D tackle position might be the deepest on the team. Mike Anderson's up 6. New starter Anthony Davis gets a bump +6. Mills is up +6. Sapp, Walker, and Coker get a +5. At linebacker, Ashton Hall gets a +4, and Weiss gets a +4. Up the middle, Logan Young gets a +5. So does linebacker of the year, Brian Chase. He slides inside for his sophomore campaign. And Kyle Kendricks gets a +4 and is up to an 85 overall. He'll battle Cedric Turner for playing time next season. At quarter, we might be deeper than we were last season. Kent Johnson leads the way, followed by Eric Rogers. He gets a +4 up to a 96. Benson gets a +5 up to a 96, and Wilkinson gets a +3 up to a 94. Shelton gets a +4 up to a 91. Then you have redshirt freshman Hardy. He gets a +5 to an 85 overall, and Parker gets a +5 to an 84 overall. In all, their coverage ability is off the charts. The no-fly zone is stronger than ever. At free safety, Travis Haley gets a +5 and is up to a 95 overall. And Antoine Nugent gets a +5. He's up to a 91 overall. On special teams, Ryan Davis gets a +6. He's up to a 92 overall. And punter Andre Mathis is up to a 77 overall. Now it's time to get ready for season 9. This is going to be an interesting year for our Tigers. A lot of holes, but a lot of big names are back. Can they make it a historic 5 national championships in a row? The season 9 schedule will be released in the next few days, so make sure you guys are following me on Facebook, Twitter, and IG at Big C Got Game. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're brand new, and don't forget to hit that bell and join the Noti Squad. And we'll talk in the next one. Have a great day, guys. 2 fingers in the air. Peace.